Just before the Friday night fun began in Luton, QPR squeezed in one final signing on transfer deadline day, with 22-year-old right-back Harrison Ashby joining on loan from Newcastle for the duration of the 2024-25 season. Unless we make any free signings in the coming days, Ashby looks set to be our final edition of the 2024 summer transfer window. So as with all of our new players, in this video I'll be taking a closer look at Ashby's career so far, what kind of player he is, and what role we can expect him to play under Martí Cifuentes this season. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoy this transfer deep dive, and if you'd like to support the channel further by becoming a member for £1.99 a month, you can do so by clicking the link in the description below. Son of former Watford, Brentford and Gillingham centre-half Barry Ashby, Harrison Ashby was born on the 14th of November 2001 in Milton Keynes, England. His football career began in Chelsea's youth ranks, but it was at West Ham United, a club he moved to at the age of 9, where he would spend his formative years. He spent more than 12 years in total with the Hammers between 2010 and 2023, progressing up to the Under-18s Premier League as well as representing Scotland's Under-17s, 19s and 21s as a result of Scottish grandparents on his mother's side of the family. Ashby went on to sign his first professional contract with West Ham in the summer of 2020, before making his senior debut on the 15th of September that year under David Moyes, replacing Ben Johnson in the 84th minute of a 3-0 League Cup win over Charlton Athletic. Ashby would feature once again in the third round 2 weeks later, this time playing 69 minutes in a 5-1 win at home to Hull City. A further 6 first team appearances would follow in the next 2 seasons. In 2021 he would reach 2 further significant milestones, making his European debut with a full 90 minutes in a 1-0 loss against Dynamo Zagreb in the Europa League. 3 months later he would go on to make his Premier League debut, coming on for 6 minutes in a 2-0 loss away at Arsenal. His captain at the time, Mark Noble, praised him following his Premier League debut, noting his real physical stature and technical ability. Ashby's appearances for the first team would be limited to just 2 in his final season with the club in 2022-23, as West Ham charted their path to UEFA Conference League glory, but it didn't mean that his career was faltering, because on deadline day January 2023, he completed a move to Newcastle United for a £3 million fee including add-ons. Speaking of signing the 21-year-old, Eddie Howe said Harrison is a very talented young player who has a lot of potential, so we are delighted to sign him. He has very good attributes, so we are looking forward to working with him in this exciting new chapter of his career. At the time, there was even talk that he had been identified as a long-term successor to Kieran Trippier and that he would be in the first team conversation. Unfortunately though, a hamstring injury limited his opportunities over the remainder of that season, meaning he would make just 2 appearances for the under-21s in April and appear on the bench of the senior squad for the final 2 matches of the Premier League season. That's why last season Newcastle decided to send Ashby out on loan to Swansea City to increase his first team exposure, becoming Michael Duff's 6th summer signing at the time. Duff said, "I was keen to get it done for Harrison to join me at my last club. We think he's a really good player and a powerful player. First and foremost, he is a good defender, but one who can also get in the final third and deliver good crosses too." Duff clearly rated him highly, and that became evident when he was placed straight into the starting lineup for Swansea's opening match of the season against Birmingham. In fact, he would play the first 5 league games and 2 Carabao Cup games in a row, getting his first senior assist against Coventry and his first senior goal against Preston North End. He would find himself on the bench for most of September, but he would return to the side for another 5 league game run between late October and November. That was until another hamstring injury halted his progress. Ashby would miss 2 months before returning in January, by which point Michael Duff had been replaced with Luke Williams. The new gaffer seemed to like him though, playing him in 3 successive games against Southampton and Leicester in the Championship and Bournemouth in the FA Cup, but he wouldn't be back in action for long, missing the remainder of the season with a muscular problem. After recovering from injury, he joined up with the first team Newcastle squad this summer for training camps in Germany and Japan, playing 45 minutes against Yokohama Marinos. And that brings us to the present, where out of nowhere, Harrison Ashby now finds himself a lone QPR player for the duration of the 24-25 season. So what kind of right back is he exactly? Well, having only made 16 appearances for Swansea last season and a scattering of minutes for West Ham, he's not someone that you can really overanalyze too much at this point, but here's what we do know. He's 5'10", right-footed, and he describes himself as a very attacking fullback, which we can see reflected in his number of successful take-ons for Swansea in that small sample of games. Of particular note is his crossing ability, which is partly what has drawn comparisons to Trippier in the past. Those attacking qualities crystallised last season with a well-taken half-volley goal against Preston North End, and a looping near post cross assist against Coventry. Martí Cifuentes does like his attacking fullback, so clearly these are attributes that the club like in Ashby. He also posted some decent defensive stats during those appearances for Swansea, though he did appear to struggle more in the air, and he was only actually involved in one win from the 14 matches during which he featured. My main concern naturally is around his fitness. 2 seasons in a row he's missed out on large chunks of the campaign due to these hamstring injuries, so that's going to need to be managed this season. It's not impossible. We managed player fitness very well last year, and Isaac Hayden arrived on the back of a very similar injury history and he stayed available during his stay. But for such a young player to have those kind of recurring injuries, it will need to be monitored. It's an interesting signing because, like many QPR fans, right back didn't really feel like an obvious position to me that we needed to add to, with Jimmy Dunn remaining in his new role and Harrison Santos having joined earlier in the summer transfer window. Obviously, Reggie Cannon's departure does add more context to the situation, but even then we now have 3 right backs again, which may suggest that Marty is starting to see Santos' long-term future in that more advanced right-wing position he featured in against Luton in the Cup. With Dunn seemingly our number 1 right-back of choice now, some have questioned whether we'll actually see much of Ashby or if he's just purely injury cover. But then part of me questions why Newcastle would bother sending him to us without any guarantee over playing time. He might no longer be in their first team plans, with Tino Livramento now seemingly the Trippier successor under Howe, but Ashby did allude in his first interview to the fact that there were other offers on the table and will have to have edged those deals somehow. Another intriguing element is that Amit Bhatia thanked Jamie Rubin on the club's announcement post, which does suggest to me that there was a favour involved here, much like Hayden's arrival last January. With this in mind and Ashby's attacking profile, I think he might actually be a bit more involved than we might think, and it will help to share the load with Dunn. Who knows, maybe Dunn will feature elsewhere on the pitch given how good he is getting going forwards. Clearly, Ashby was rated enough for Newcastle to pick him up from West Ham, so I think this is a promising addition for the season. And unlike most Premier League loan signings, there might even be a path for him to stay if he's any good for us, with his contract expiring with the Magpies next summer. I also think it's interesting that we've used 3 of our 5 loan slots already, having started last season with none, which seems to be more evidence of us managing our finances towards FFP very differently these days. Anyway, I wish Harrison all the best for this season, and I look forward to seeing him however he may feature. Do let me know in the comments below what you think about this signing. Do you know much about Harrison Ashby yourself? And if you've enjoyed this transfer deep dive, make sure you hit like and subscribe as well. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!